Here we go. Welcome back to Super Sentai Review episode number 497. Here we episodes 17 and 19 of basically Zyuohger. Yes, I pronounced that way because, well, I think it's kind of fun doing that. Yeah, but he goes by a name. Oh, and this guy is shown to have three Zymons around him. We reveal in the next episode that he was actually surrounded by a rhino, a crocodile, and a wolf. Interesting. We'll get back to that. So, yeah, the whole thing in this one is that we have the story for 17 is that, we have this Trumpus, this king guy who's actually in 17 and 18, surprisingly, because he does not get killed. Because I think he's actually the first monster for this show to appear in more than one episode, because who was not, like, let's say, the team leader. He's first, well, they're first players. He's actually the first one to actually appear in more than just one episode, because he did the cards thing, and eventually they break the card thing when people were separated, of course. Which this is a similar idea with a plot. I don't remember. I think I remember involving a magnet monster, where in that one was a mother and daughter. They were attempting to separate, and they're basically two opposite ends, and they're trying to get close, basically, but the magnets keep them apart. This is a similar idea. Similar idea, except on cards that basically magnets. So they also have a thing where it's implied. Now they do kind of. Now, of course, Yamato's uncle does see Yamato using his Zyuohger changer, like basically to call somebody. It's like he probably thinking like, why is he making a call with a cube? He doesn't question it per se, but then of course they eventually to get around the whole thing related to basically with the cards, because every time people with the same card stud, well, same card symbol, they get knocked out with electrocution. So they get around this by drawing the cards themselves. And that probably distraction long enough for him to break the cards, and then before they get destroyed, basically Trumpus, then we have the extra player introduced, known as the World. Yep, a guy who has the power of 3 different Zymons. Like I mentioned, a rhino, a wolf, and a crocodile. Yeah, and he shows up pretty much toward the end of 17, where the suit itself, when I looked at it, like, I would say, appearance-wise, it's similar to that of Gokai Silver, with the mask being kind of similar, and the way that his part of his outfit, the boots themselves remind me of one of the villains. I thought the outfit looked really cool. And also his visor can move like twice. Like reading visors. Like first one's a rhino, then he switches to wolf. He pulls up one visor. Oh, look, it's a wolf. And third one basically is the gold one on the mouth. And well, the crocodile. And then the next episode they debut his personal mech, which again numbers of 79, known as Tosai Zara. Like, interesting. Yeah, and then of course, basically by the end of episode 18, he actually kind of beats Wild King. Of course, ever come from injuries, of course, and then like Then we also have where basically like at one point you have, I think it's a World and Yamato basically off fighting in a river. They fight for a while, and then something weird happens with World where he basically demorphs to basically show off the human. Where he looks like he's really thin. Yeah, really thin. Then he's taken away, giving more of the coins to the villain of the series to more brainwashing him. And then this gives basically Yamato's idea to convert World to their side because he is simply a human being used by the Death Galleon. Which a lot of episode 18 is basically, it's basically him trying to put this to move forward. And also during the course of this, Q Bear becomes a Q Panda. Where it becomes, oh, look at the shiny! Yes, shiny gold. And drags it long enough for Yamato to jump from Zyuohger King straight to Tosata Zao. Which, yeah, of course you can do this. Because basically it's from the same technology. And then, of course, during the course of this, they fight for a little bit, of course, about believing, of course, Genshin. It's like, really? What does he know about you? Absolutely nothing. I mean, from his Yamato's perspective, he seems like a random human he just happened to pick for this little experiment. And during the course of this, thanks to him, basically, Yamato convincing him, the brainwashing is lifted. He's still basically He's still basically the World. And then by the end of the episode, we finally unveil his name as being Masato Mandu. Yep. Oh, they also introduced basically a monster who does not get defeated in the episode. It's a guy who makes people with the bowling pins. Hey, look at this lamp here. This one, you have wolf. Yeah, it's a wolf, a crocodile, and a rhino. Yeah, it's the whole thing with this guy, but the brainwashing thing. It reminds me also of Zanaku from Wild Force, but basically it's the counterpart, where it's very similar. We have a guy who's corrupted, and heck, two of his Zords he has basically as part of his personal mech are a wolf and a crocodile. I don't remember basically if his other mech was basically I don't think it was a rhino. Oh, it was a hammerhead shark. Okay. So it's a similar idea. I at least appreciate the fact they actually... I wouldn't necessarily say this is a carbon copy of that idea. No, not really. It's more like... the best way to describe it, it is more like a nod to it per se, where the Sixth Rangers has a black motif as the wolf, but wolf is not his primary thing. It's more like a rhino is his primary thing. So I'd say it's sort of a nod to that one, but I would not necessarily say it's a ripoff. Not really, no. But I appreciate the effort. Oh, and the whole thing of making the Sixth Ranger evil at first, and then basically to reform him. In a way, he's the first, actual, a ranger who starts as evil but then is quickly reformed. If you think about it, this is probably the first time that we have a guy who starts as evil. I mean, I would say the last this happened was actually Abakiller. but he was evil the whole time. It wasn't until the very end that he reformed. Here was actually planned. In the case of Abba Killer, that was not pre-planned. That was due to low toy sales. But in a way, the whole brainwashing thing, we forcing the stuff on him a little bit here. I would say it's not only a nod to what is the name of that character here from I know it's basically Gal Wolf. I remember that. That's basically the thing. Oh, it's Gal Silver, excuse me. Takara Ogami, where we have a nod to that, and also a little bit of nod to Dragon Ranger here with the whole brainwash thing by the villain of the series. The release when this whole idea was created by him, that was original, but I appreciate a little nods. I mean, that's two things I can think of. But also, in the case of the little thing of like, oh, where the Sixth Ranger starts out as a dick. Well, this basically was not on purpose, like a lot of the airtime. Yes. That's kind of the thing with the 2010 Six Rangers. Half the time these people are massive dicks. Like, they are not very nice people at all. It's like they think they're better than the main team. If you want to think about basically where this started with, you could say it kind of started with Time Range with this, because Six Rangers before this were not like this at all. Though the 2000s basically where the Six Ranger thing basically became a common staple. I would say the first of Six Rangers I could think of was probably Dragon Ranger. And then they had one in, of course, Die Ranger in that point 4. The only one in the 90s not technically have a Six Ranger was actually, believe it or not, Go-Go 5. Yep. But starting with Time Ranger, they've had the Six Rangers start out as dicks. Well, you could say that's kind of like that with Gal Ranger, except he was brainwashed. Hurricaneer, he is just not a dick. He just basically, he just full of himself. He's a kind of a dick, but not over the top with it per se. Abigail was just a plain dick. There was also Decker Shine. Decker Bright, excuse me. He did kind of start out as a dick. Yes, he did. Magi Shine? No. He was never a dick. He was probably the first one to not come up as dickish. At first. He had a wonderful charm with the character. Let's see. Then there was... I'm trying to think. What came after Magi Ranger? I think it was... well, I'm trying to remember. I think next one to Magi Ranger wasn't Deck. I know Deck came before that one. Oh, it was Bokanger. But yeah, Bokanger. Yeah, their Six Ranger did start as a dick. Okay. For Geka Ranger, I would say... not really, no. They never did technically have Six Rangers. No, they basically were 5. But he was a likable character with that one. Yes. Alright, I believe next after Geka Ranger, I think was, Galanger. I would say a tad bit, a little bit, mostly in the case of the male of Golan Wings. I would say going themselves, yeah, they were kind of dickish. Shurikenger, no, he was not a dick. He was a bit annoying at first. Okay. Ghost Ranger. I would say kind of, even though he's good. The Ghost Knight, he is more clarified as a extra hero than a Six Ranger. He basically filled in the Six Ranger slot. Gokkai Silver. The guy simply had a lot of fun. Go Blasters didn't technically have a Sixth Ranger. You could say basically the two that make up their team, which probably was the first one since Gekker Ranger to have a Sixth Ranger. No, he didn't come as dick. He was a very likable character. He was. Yes. Then it was, I think next to the Go Busters was Zyuohger. That one, it was an act. He never really was a dick, so I'm not counting it. Okay. Ninja Hunter. I'd say kind of. Yeah. It was an act. He kind of was a dick. So, there's an example of Six Rangers since 2000. Because, of course, basically every team is going to have one. I don't have a problem with the Six Ranger thing. Basically, it's add some extra. At least they waited a little bit longer than Ninja Hunter did, which that did after only 7 episodes. 7. Look, we have a Six Ranger. This one we waited about, well, to debut this character, we waited 17 episodes in to finally do this, which, good on basically doing that. Yeah. So, with him freed, basically, we'll find out what happens next. We're probably going to watch it tonight after this. But next up is going to be Backstab and Backwater Dungeon. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the video. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, to notifications. I'll see you in a bit. Bye.